I want to get some of Sarah Palin's speech because we're going to delve here into some history of Ronaldus Magnus in the process. This is Saturday night, Nashville, Tennessee, National Tea Party Convention. Sarah Palin, the keynote address. Here's one of a few bites that we have.
I caution against allowing this movement to be defined by any one leader or politician. The Tea Party movement is not a top-down operation. It's a ground-up call to action that is forcing both parties to change the way that they're doing business, and that's beautiful. This is about the people. This is about the people, and it's bigger than any king or queen of a Tea Party, and it's a lot bigger than any charismatic guy with a teleprompter.
By the way, have you noticed she's put the godlike echo in her speech, just as Obama does? Here's the next bite.
Remember, our administration promised that it would be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Remember Vice President Biden? He was put in charge of a tough, unprecedented oversight effort. That's how it was introduced. You know why? Because nobody messes with Joe. Now, this was all part of that hope and change and transparency, and now a year later, I gotta ask those supporters of all that, how's that hopey, changey stuff working out for you?
Yeah, she's happy. She's happy. It just drives them nuts. And like all of us, she turns it all right back on them. Makes fun of them. Not supposed to do that. Not supposed to. Their mission is too important. Their mission is too sacred. You can't make fun of them. No way. And here's the next. Let's see. Yeah, a couple more here.
We have a vision for the future of our country, too, and it is a vision anchored in time-tested truths. That the government that governs least governs best. And that the Constitution provides the best roadmap towards a more perfect union. And that only limited government can expand prosperity and opportunity for all. And that freedom is a God-given right, and it is worth fighting for. God bless you. These are enduring truths, and these enduring truths have been passed down from Washington to Lincoln to Reagan and now to you.
And this will get us into the coming Reagan bites. This is, she knows, like Reagan, that simplicity and optimism is really all that's needed for America to turn around.
Let us not get bogged down in the small squabbles.
Right.
Let us get caught up in the big ideas.
Exactly.
To do so would be a fitting tribute to Ronald Reagan. He knew the best of our country is not all gathered in Washington, D.C. It is here in our communities where families live and children learn, and children with special needs are welcomed in this world and embraced. The best of America can be found in places where patriots are brave enough and free enough to be able to stand up and speak up, and where small businesses grow our economy one job at a time. And folks like Reagan, we know that America is still that shining city on a hill. Tea Party Nation, we know that there is nothing wrong with America that together we can fix as Americans.
Right on. Now that takes us to Reagan. Now these are fascinating bites. We're going to go back to a debate between Ronaldus Magnus and George H.W. Bush, April 24th, 1980.
4 times in this century we have had across-the-board tax cuts, all of which have resulted in such an increase in prosperity that the government, even in the first year, got increased revenues, not less. The idea of a 10% cut across the board, the income tax, administered over a 3-year period to a total of 30%, I believe will stimulate the economy, will create jobs, but it will not reduce federal incomes. It will only reduce the increase in taxes. History has proven in all those other tax cuts, I believe, that will stimulate the economy, more people will be working, and it will be contrary to the Carter policy now of fighting inflation by adding millions to the unemployment rolls.
And here's George H.W. Bush, Bush 41, replying.
The difference we have is, it is my understanding, the Kennedy tax cut implemented by Lyndon Johnson resulted in a $4.4 billion deficit. And inflation then was 1.8, not 18%. Investor confidence was high, not low. And it is my perception that that tax cut applied today in the same percentages, the same numbers, would result in a inflation rate of about 30 to 32%. If we risk, with investor confidence where it is, a deficit that's going to be up already, I think, 37 billion, 30 billion on top of that, I'm afraid we can't break inflation. And we got to do that and do it fast.
Of course, just the exact opposite happened. This what was amazing, for those of you that weren't alive or weren't paying attention, the amazing thing was that inflation came down while the economy was growing as a result of huge across-the-board tax cuts. All these economists were stunned. Bush was not alone in projecting that inflation would go sky high. It came down. Particularly, it took to the second term for it to start, but it did come down. The exact opposite happened. Here's the final bite of this.
Well, George, we've got to do that, and of course it goes without saying. And I certainly believe in reducing the cost of government far more than the phony decrease that Mr. Carter has proposed. Let me just say one other thing. I've heard for a great many years that we can't possibly reduce taxes. This is Washington's cry.
I agree.
We can't reduce taxes until we reduce government spending. And I have to point out that government does not tax to get the money it needs. Government always needs the money it gets. Now, your son can be extravagant with his allowance, and you can lecture him day after day about saving money and not being extravagant, or you can solve the problem by cutting his allowance.
That's Ronald Reagan responding to George H.W. Bush. That's April 24th, 1980. Government does not tax to get the money it needs. It always needs the money it gets, meaning whatever amount they get, they're going to spend, no matter what you do. So this is just another reminder of what needs to happen here. We find ourselves, Jimmy Carter, his second term is unfolding right before our very eyes.